Hey everybody, it's Steve with Real Progressives, and I don't normally like doing this, and it's going to be loud. That's the worst part of it. I'm sorry, it's just the way it goes in a four-wheel drive. But I took my message outside the hallowed halls of Real Progressives and started going to different places, taking it onto my own personal wall, where most of the people on my page are progressives anyway. Most of them are Bernie Sanders supporters. Most of them are Jill Stein supporters. And when I jokingly asked, how are we going to pay for a Green New Deal? When I jokingly asked, how are we going to pay for single payer and and green energy and so forth, I got a whole bunch of taxes and so forth, right? I got a whole bunch of answers that had nothing to do with reality. And so as I was telling them things that you people know well, you all that follow us at Real Progressives, their heads were exploding. Now, these are the same people that claim to love Bernie Sanders. The same people that claim to love, the Green New Deal, and they want to have all these wonderful things that Bernie put forward. And I'm sitting there dropping things. I'm like, guys, if you want that, we can have it. We really can. But they're intense about taxing. It's like this, it's almost self-masturbating about taxes. Like they cannot divorce themselves of the idea that we've got to pay for stuff with taxes. And so they're going to march in place. Our progressive army that we have to go to war with going forward, they're on our team, are sitting there shooting us in the back, with muskets of idiocy. And we're sitting there charging the lines against the quote unquote enemy, the enemy being those who don't want single payer and don't want these things. And there they are, the people that claim to want all of what Bernie Sanders put forth, $33 trillion in new spending. They're claiming that, we'll just have to cut this, and we'll have to tax that, and we got to do this. And the uneducated part is fine. You can be uneducated. I never have a problem with someone being uneducated. Being uneducated is a state that is a temporary situation. It can be solved for. What can't be solved for is the full cup syndrome. The full cup. That thing that's, you're just so goddamn sure you're right about something. You can't back it up. You don't have any kind of real honest anything. You're just like, God damn it, we got to raise taxes. And they don't realize that we could build huge coalitions to get these plans done, because most of these, I'm not talking about the regular Republicans, because I think the Republican Party as a whole has brainwashed their people so much that it's unbelievable. But the flip side is the Democrats are every bit as just trapped in this mindless blathering about we got to fund things with taxes. And so when you try to present the stuff even gently, even with sourcing, they don't read it, they skip right past it, and they tell you, what are you, a Russian plant? What are you, a right-winger? What are you, a Republican? What are you? And when I see that, it tells me, number one, when you say that, it tells me I'm dealing with a lesser intellect. That's a problem. That's something, when you jump out and say, what are you, a Republican or something like that? That's a sign of someone that is really, really not sharp, and there's probably not a lot of help you can do for them. When you hear the words, what are you, a Republican? That tells you you've got serious mental issues, because it's called contempt prior to investigation. Contempt prior to investigation. And when you're a full cup and you try and pour more into it, what happens? It goes all over the table, right? Nothing goes into the cup. But these people, I swear on my life, are trapped, and they will not break free. They don't want to break free. Their holy grail is raising taxes. I think they're less interested in single payer than they are in fighting tax wars. So I find it fascinating, not so much in a bad way, but the idea that Bernie Sanders put forward $33 trillion in new spending is a pretty fascinating thing, right? I mean, it's an amazing thing to have the cojones to put forward $33 trillion in new spending. And you cannot possibly believe that we're going to find a way to tax $33 trillion worth of taxation to pay for it. It's preposterous to even say such a ludicrous thing. And yet, they're marching in order, they're stomping their feet, they're swearing I'm wrong, and that's where the trouble comes in. If you sit there and you say, well, Steve, I don't understand. See, I can work with that, right? I mean, how do you not work with somebody that says, Steve, I don't understand? But when someone comes in there bloviating, chest puffed out, full of nonsense, saying that you're wrong, I'm right, blah, 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 and I'm saying to myself, wait a minute, do you really want a Green New Deal? Just spitballing, do you really want one? Don't just say you do. I'm asking you, do you really freaking want one? If you do, then you understand outside of our progressive bubble, it has Republicans we got to fight with. And what is their number one bitch? What is their number one priority? Cutting taxes, not raising taxes. So here you got a situation where instead of being beholden to the idea that taxes somehow or another fund spending when they're deleted on receipt, you have a situation where we could say, God, I love my kids more than I need to tax on it. I love my kids more, and I'm going to fight for them more. And this is where we're at, folks. If you guys are not boned up on this stuff, it's time to dig in. It's time to dig in, because when 2020 comes, I most assuredly tell you this, whoever's running is not going to be able to tell you this stuff unless we create a groundswell of saying, hell no, stop lying to us. We know the truth, and we want single payer. We want green energy, not in 30 years, but now. We want these things now. And you can't get there trying to fight the tax war, because the first thing that's going to happen is the tax war will take over everything. Then you'll get to the next debt ceiling fight. Then you'll get to the next sequestration. Then you get to the next grand bargain, which will be cutting food stamps and cutting Social Security. Oh, and by the way, how are you going to fight this war when the GOP tries to do a balanced budget amendment? And then you lose all chance of any of these programs. Then what? Folks, I'm telling you, this is the most serious thing that you can dig into if you really want these things. If you don't really want these things, then stop saying you do, because you can't get there the way that everybody's trying to go about it. We have proven time and again. I've had the experts on our show. Experts, not some kid blogging. Experts on Real Progressives come and explain this. Experts. The people that are crafting the legislation for Bernie Sanders came on the show. I've had Stephanie Kelton. I've had Joe Firestone. I've had Ellis Winningham. I've had Pavlina Cherneva. I've had a host of people on the show telling you all these things. It's time for us to kick off the training wheels and go out there and start educating beyond the hallowed halls of Real Progressives. It's time to kick off the training wheels and really, really activate. You know, all the people that went out there to Dakota Pipeline, we need that same amount of people fighting for Social Security. We need the same amount of people fighting for single payer. We need the same amount of people fighting for green energy. It's not going to happen by accident. It's going to require a purposeful action on the part of progressives, or we are screwed. Full stop. You either believe we are in a crisis with our climate, or you do not. If you believe that, then it's time to learn how to pay for it. It's time. It's beyond time. Step up. Be heard. If you have a question, ask it. There is no problem with not knowing a question or not knowing the answer to a question. It is the most important thing you can ever do is ask questions. The most ignorant thing you could ever do is act like you know something when you don't know it and derail progress. That is the one inexcusable thing you can do, is act like you know when you don't. So get out there and start spreading the news. Take the links, take the videos, share them. Let's win this war. Let's win this war. I'm Steve with Real Progressives. I'm going to sign off now. Thank you all very much. Have a great day, everybody.